Hello everyone, ARG back with some more franchise Hockey Manager 9, and today in the world of 1980 alternate universe Hockey we have the Hartford Whalers, and ding ding ding, today we have a trade to announce. So I wanted to make a trade. So I was really bothered by the Blaine Stockton situation. Uh, because he was actually producing. I wasn't sure at the start of the season that he would, and he did, and I wanted to keep him around. Thing is that he committed some heinous crime or something in his spare time, and then everybody hated him, and now I needed to find a trade partner. So I did that. It took me a while, but I found a trade I was happy with. So I kind of went with the template that my friend JT Dutch provided, except that I wasn't quite able to go and get Pierre Larouche like he had suggested to me. So in turn, I turned to JT Dutch's team. So no, I'm not gonna make you cry for a second year in a row. I didn't pry Dave Taylor away from the Kings. I did not do that. But I did find a trade that I'm somewhat satisfied with, and I pulled the trigger on it, and we are going to review it right now. Alright, so I did trade Blaine Stockton, Dave DeBall, and Al Angsleben, as well as a 6th-round draft pick to the Kings for Charlie Simmer, 25 years old. He's a 3.5 star player. We're going to look at ratings in just a second. Down Housey, I got just to make the trade work. And Jay Wells. Now, Jay Wells is a 20-year-old defenseman. He's capable to play in the NHL right now. He's not all that great, but he's a little bit more of a defensive defenseman. And you're gonna tell me, but ARG, you have a lot of those already, and you are correct. Except that my top defensemen, like the ones that are actually the best defensemen, are a more two-way type of defenseman. So if Jay Wells can develop into the 3 stars that he has, he could be a decent defensive defenseman option for us in the back end for several years since he's only 20. So I kind of like that trade, so I pulled the trigger on it. Al Angsleben, first of all, I can barely pronounce his name. I'm sure I have not said it right a single time since the start of that series, but he also was not all that great. He might be a 2-star defenseman, but when you look at his stats, he's a 10 at best and stuff. So I decided to move on from him. I wasn't gonna retain him anyway. So to me, this trade is full of win. Let's go ahead and delete that now that we looked at it. So we're gonna look at Charlie Simmer. That's really the big piece that I got, right? So we have Charlie Simmer right here. Alright, so looks like he's going to play as a sniper right now. Now, what I remember of Charlie Simmer was pretty much near the end of his career when I was a kid. And to me, he fit more. He was maybe fitting more as a power forward as I remember it. So I'm fine with having a sniper. We don't really have a shooter on the team. We had kind of Blaine Stockton, but he was more of a perimeter shooter. So now we have a sniper. He's hopefully going to be playing really well with Mike Rogers, I'm hoping. The only thing is that now at right wing we are really, really, really thin. So there was no like completely winning this trade. I still think I won this trade, but there was no like knocking it out of the park because of his disruption. Blaine Stockton's value was really low. So, but I'm still pretty happy with that. We're going to take a look at Jay Wells as well. So like I said, he's not all that great right now, but he's only 20, so he might get better. And he's really more of a defensive defenseman, which, given that Markow and Al Sims are a little bit more like puck-moving defensemen, I don't really have a problem with that. And we're going to build from there. All right. And Simmer was on his last contract year, and as you can see, I have offered him an extension, I think, for 2 years. So we should be set here. Now, of course, my D at the moment is really bad. With Markow and Al Sims both hurt for the long term, that doesn't leave us a whole lot of talent on D. So hopefully things are gonna settle down a little bit. Now I got this guy that I don't really care for. And I want to send him down. He's probably going to need to go through waivers. That's fine. And then we're going to recall somebody else. Maybe a right winger. Oh, and you failed again, maybe. You did pretty good. 4 assists in 8 games. You're getting another look, buddy. Come back on the team. There you go. Alright, so now, you know, the Kings are putting Vic Vanaski on waivers to make room, you know, after that trade that they just made with me. And then I already had Mike Polic on waivers, and I have Don Alcy as well. So we should be good here. Maybe not good to win games, but I'm pretty happy with the trade. Pretty satisfied. And like I said, I did look around quite a bit. That was pretty much the best I could do. Without giving up like a first round draft, because something like that, we're solo in the standings, we're probably going to get a really good player, so I don't want to get rid of my first round draft pick. So yeah. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get started with March here. Looks like it's going to be fairly busy for the most part. So yeah, so we're starting with a pretty long road trip, and then we're going to be at home for a while, so it's like, you know, not split all that great. Like, it's a huge chunk of road games, and then it's going to be a huge chunk of home games. And it starts in St. Louis, so it was a back-to-back against the Blues, right? And we didn't win the first game. Now we're in St. Louis, who are now 30-21-11. We are 0-2 against the Blues. Let's play this game. Let's see where our new acquisitions fit in the lineup. Yep, so Mike Rogers is going to play with Gordie Howe and Charlie Simmer. Keon with Stevenson and Lefley that I just got in a trade, already playing on the second line. André Lacroix with Fotiu and Neufeld, and then Carroll with Aduono. On the Jay Wells is going to be playing first pair minutes with Gordie Roberts, then Mark Renault with Rick Hodgson, and Gary Doak with, oh yeah, Baltimore. I got that guy because I liked his name for the most part. He can play. He's a 12 in stay-at-home defenseman. So right now I have a lot of... I have 4 defensive defensemen, but keep in mind, you know, I have 2 of my best and most mobile defensemen hurt for a while, so it is what it is. All right, let's get this thing going. Al Smith is going to be in net for the Waiters. Ed Staniowski is going to be in net for the Blues, and of course, go Waiters. And we start with a tie, a 4-4 tie in St. Louis. I guess we'll take it. Let's see if our acquisitions did stuff. St. Louis outshot us 35-30. Sutter was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. André Lacroix was the second star with 2 goals and an assist. And Bordelot was the third star with an assist. We opened up the scoring in the first. It was Mike Rogers on the power play from André Lacroix and Charlie Simmer. There you go. Charlie Simmer participated on the first goal that we scored. And then Charlie Simmer scored shorthanded from Mike Rogers and Jay Wells. Look at that. What a great trade. Alright, so it was 2-0 Hartford after 1. There was also a fight between Brian Sutter and Gordie Howe. Then in the second period, the Blues scored twice to tie the game, and then André Lacroix scored from Nick Fotiu and Gary Doak. 3-2 Hartford after 2. There was another fight between Bob Stewart and Nick Fotiu. Then in the third period, the Blues scored twice. They were up 4-3, and then with 20 seconds left to go in the third period, André Lacroix scored his second goal of the game, his 20th of the season, from Jay Wells and Ray Neufeld. Jay Wells 2 assists in this game. We were tied at 4, and that held, of course. There was only 20 seconds left, so that's pretty good. So, yeah, I'm not expecting for Jay Wells to keep up with the offensive outburst here, but it's nice to see him produce his first game after being acquired. And so did Charlie Simmer, a goal and an assist, including a shorty. So, and Charlie Simmer is automatically our best scorer now with 66 points. Only 2 with us, but we don't have to talk about that. Gary Doken proves that left defense. Okay, yeah, he's a righty. I have a lot of right-handed defensemen. Maybe I should send one to the modern-day Suns who could use a little bit of help in that department instead of playing Nikita Zaitsev. Alright. Now we have 5 days off before we play in Buffalo, so that's a lot of time to spend not doing much of anything. Of course, the trade deadline is coming. We might get some offers for some of our other players that are on the block. That might be nice to get something decent. Like, I mean, Chuck Lefley, he's not awesome or anything, but, you know, he can contribute a little bit, so... Something like that, maybe. Marcel Dion reaches 500 assists in his career with an assist against the Bruins. Marcel Dion is 28 and a 5-star player at the peak of his career. Brian Propp extends his goal streak to 9 games. He had a goal against the Leafs. That was 18 straight game with a point for him. Oh, owner confidence update. He is satisfied. Try to keep a balance between finding immediate roster help and improving the team's long-term outlook. That's exactly what I did with the trade I made. Thank you for believing in me. We're going to be rebuilding next year. I agree with that. The fans are very unhappy. Well, imagine they're starting to be a little bit more happy now that I got rid of Blaine Stockton. Please ignore the rumors that we're currently being the Vancouver Canucks and conducting interviews for your replacement while we're leaving you out to dry in front of the media like Bruce Boudreau was treated in real life. That was fucking disgusting. Jim Rutherford, you fucking suck. Al Sims ready to return to practice. Alright, yeah, we could use a little bit of Al Sims in the lineup. Alright, so Chuck Lefley signed his contract, 2 years. Charlie Simmer signed as well. Hartford may move Dave Inkpen, yeah. I might, but I don't think there's going to be any biters. Ooh, there's been a trade between Philadelphia and Detroit. Steve Gallant goes to Detroit for Claude Legris. Half-star players. Am I right? Right, we're gonna go ahead and advance, I suppose. Oh yeah, there's one thing I wanted to check. Oh yeah, look at that. Got rid of the bad apple and like at that. Team harmony, good. I'm seen as having a strength everywhere and no weaknesses. I'm not sure that I believe that, but you know. So the team harmony is back to good. So how many points did that give me? I always forget where it's at. Job security. Okay, acquired Charlie Simmer, very talented player, +5, but lost Blaine Stockton, -6, a very talented player that was doing terrible things, and the fans are not happy. Okay, so the fans are not happy, but the team is in good spirits now, so that's good. The rest will come. Oh yeah, look at that. I lost 10 points for off-ice incident involving Blaine Stockton that had nothing to do with me. And apparently Chuck Lefley is a popular player. Alright, well. Anyway, let's advance that. Brian Propp extends his point streak to 19 games. He had 2 assists against the Habs. Big game for Mike Gartner, a 20-year-old Mike Gartner at that. He had a hat-trick against the Colorado Rockies. Good night for Dennis Maruk in that same game. He had 4 assists. Coach report on new players. Don Nagbar getting more comfortable. Edmonton may move Dan Newman. And there's been a trade between the Rangers and the Nordiques. Mike Backman goes to the Nordiques for Nelson Burton. So 2 half-star players were traded today. Looks like I'm the one that is gonna make the only big trade deadline trade, which is often the case to be fair. All right, so Daryl Edestran has been put on waivers by the Kings. We've seen him before. We're not gonna get him. Keith Magnuson has been put on waivers by Montreal, and then Larry Brown as well. So Larry Brown, that's a no. Magnuson, that's a no. We're not going to do anything. Melrose trade may happen. All right, so we have put Barry Melrose on the trading block, right? Frigg on the block. Len Frigg. Then there's been a trade between Atlanta and Quebec. Greg Meredith goes to the Nordic for Bernie Saunders, not to be confused with Bernie Sanders. Two different people, not players. Alpha Star player, Alpha Star player. And we have a trade proposal from the Minnesota North Stars who want to trade us Robbie Lard for Terry Richardson. Alright, so I'm not keeping Terry Richardson. He's not quite cutting it as a goaltender. And Robbie Lard is not cutting in as a player. I'm going to reject that. If I have an injury, I'd rather have an extra goaltender than a left winger. So that's how I'm viewing it. Great night for Mike Bussey. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Oilers. Good night for Denis Potvin. That same game, he had 4 assists. Brian Propp's point streak ended at 19 games. He was held scoreless against the Colorado Rockies. Rumor has Colorado moving Flesh. He is an Alpha Star. Is Washington looking to move Braganello? I guess so. Winnipeg might be looking to move Bill Riley. Alright, so Alpha Star players. We're not gonna lose too much sleep over that. Alright. We are almost at the trade deadline. McNabb is day-to-day with an injury, so Peter McNabb with the Bruins. He's day-to-day for no longer than 3 weeks, so it's kind of a longer-ish type of day-to-day injury. Could Dave Fortier be traded? Yeah, put on the block. Jim Park, put on the block. Terry Richardson is on the block. We know, he's ours. There was a trade between the Canucks and the North Stars. Rob Tudor goes to the North Stars for a 6th-round draft pick. Now, one thing you have to that I don't think I have mentioned, the draft is only 6 rounds deep in 1980. So when I dealt a 6th-round draft pick in that trade with the Kings, that was the lowest pick I could trade them. Now, at one point in time, it goes to 11 rounds, and then down to 9 rounds, and then down to the 7 rounds that we have nowadays in 2023. So, like, the amount of rounds for the amateur draft has fluctuated a lot in the NHL history. Now we have a trade proposal from the Flyers who want to trade us Don Gillen for Kevin Kemp. Now, that I'm probably going to do, because Kevin Kemp I'm not bringing back, and then Don Gillen is 19, so he needs to really, but really, really, really suck for me to say no. Doesn't look too promising. But there's maybe a little bit of hope. He has a few nights now. I understand he's in the American League, but he's 19, so there's a chance that maybe he's gonna develop into a grinder. So that, to me, that's a yes. I'm gonna make that trade. We're gonna take a flyer on. We're gonna take a flyer on the Flyers player. That was I didn't mean that. The pun was absolutely not intended. Alright, so we made the trade. Kevin Kemp was not gonna stay with us anyway, so now we have go in the American League, and hopefully you're gonna develop a little bit. I'm not asking for you to be a superstar, but maybe if you can play on my 4th line in the future, that'd be nice. Alright, now we're going to be finally playing a hockey game here in Buffalo. Buffalo is 37-17-12. That's a really good record. That's good for 3rd in the conference. We are 2-1 against Buffalo this season, so one of the rare teams that we have done well against. Let's see if we can continue that. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Waiters. Bob Sully is going to be in net for Buffalo. And of course, go Waiters, go. And it's a 6-4 victory on the road. Here we are undefeated in March. I love to say that after 2 games. Makes it sound really, really good. All right. Oh, we played a pretty good game. We outshot Buffalo 40-28. Gordy Roberts was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 3 assists. Gilbert Perrault was the second star with 2 goals, and Gordie Howe was the third star with 3 assists. Look at us. Charlie Simmer scored first goal of the game from Gordy Roberts and Mike Rogers, and André Lacroix scored on the power play unassisted. Then Mark Renault scored his 5th of the season from Dave Keon and Bob Stevenson. It was 3-0 Hartford at that point. Then Buffalo scored. It was 3-1 Hartford after 1. We had a fight between Jerry Corab and Jay Wells. Then in the second period, Buffalo scored twice, tied the game at 3, but then Gordy Roberts scored from Gordie Howe and Mike Rogers. It was 4-3 Hartford after 2. And then in the third period, Mike Rogers scored his 15th of the season from Gordie Howe and Gordie Roberts. It was 5-3 Hartford. Buffalo scored late in the game, made it 5-4, but with 4 seconds left to go in the game, Chuck Lefley scored his 5th of the season in an empty net from Gordie Roberts and Gordie Howe. It's a 6-4 victory. We also had a fight between Danny Gare and Ray Neufeld. Alrighty. Pretty happy with that. Oh, we have quite a few trade proposals there. So let's take a look at that. Washington looking to trade Doug Gibson. Okay. Ken Cusick in Quebec is on the block as well. Then we have 4 trade proposals. So we have to look at them all before I make a decision because, you know, the same player might appear in a couple of them. Alright, so... Oh, Mike Simerda for Dave Inkpen. Okay, Sam Saint Laurent for Terry Richardson. That I'm probably gonna do. Sam Saint Laurent is 21 years old. I don't think he's gonna get all that great, but he's 11-12, and Terry Richardson is 26 and he's 12-12. So since he's 21, there's maybe a slight chance that he gets better. So I'm probably gonna make that swap. Bob Hoffmeyer for Steve Alley. Bob Hoffmeyer for Steve Alley. Maybe. And then here we have Larry Goodenow for Larry Plow. Feels like it's 2 old NHL execs that are going to be maybe traded for each other. Alright, so it's not, none of them are the same player, so let's view the proposals one by one. So here, Mike Simerda. Alright. I have a lot of similar players like you. At this point, I'm just gonna say no. Alto, you're 22. I'm really not keeping Dave Inkpen. You know what? Let's make the trade. There you go. That one I already know I'm probably gonna make. Oh, he's from Saguenay. Yeah, that guy probably likes to party. So we're gonna complete the trade. Let's make that trade. Why not? Alright, so Bob Hoffmeyer for Steve Alley. Now, Steve Alley is almost a capable player. Bob Hoffmeyer, yeah, he's a defenseman. Yeah, I'm gonna reject that one. Maybe I'm gonna regret doing that. I don't know. Then Larry Goodenow for Larry Plow. Now, Larry Plow is a star and a half, but it's very misleading. He can barely play in the AHL. Oh, Larry Goodenow is even worse. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. All right. So we did make a couple trades. Nothing major. Both trades with the Flyers. Alright, so you're going to go in the AHL, and so is your friend Mike Simerda. There you go. Nothing personal. We added some depth. Oh. Now I might need to sign some of that depth. That I did not think about. No, they all had contracts. Yeah, so I'm gonna let those guys walk. Alright, we're gonna advance one day here. Look at that. The Flyers made 2 trades with me, and they have put both players that they have traded for on waivers. Ooh, lots of trades. And lots of players on waivers. Alright, so that's gonna take a second here. So let's go through that here first. Good night for Rich Preston. He had 5 goals against the Colorado Rockies. Yeah, that's a pretty good night. Darcy Rota has a strong game. He had a hat trick against the Vancouver Canucks. And then it's a lot of trades to talk about. Trade between Chicago and New York. Bob Hoffmeyer goes to the Islanders after all for a 6th-round draft pick. Alright, and then Bruce Andrus goes to Atlanta for Tim Bernhardt. Oh, Tim Bernhardt has a lot of potential, at least according to my people. So that might be a fleece here. Trade between the Islanders and the Rangers. Dan Clark for Tim Lockridge, half star players. Trade between Atlanta and Los Angeles. Paul Anderson for a 6th-round draft pick. St. Louis and Chicago traded. Ken Richardson for Dave Feemster, sorry. Trade between Winnipeg and Toronto. Ron Wilson. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So Ron Wilson goes to Toronto. That's a player that actually can play in the NHL for a 5th-round draft pick. Then between the Kings and the Rangers, Brad Selwood to the Rangers for a 6th-round draft pick. That's actually a player that can play as well. Okay, so at the trade deadline, we're seeing a little bit better players being traded. Trade between Los Angeles and Quebec. Rick Hampton for a 6th-round draft pick. Alright, between the Kings and the Canucks, a 6th-round draft pick that was just acquired from the Quebec Nordiques to go get Brian Maxwell. And then François Lacombe was traded for John Gibb, small trade. Trade between Quebec and Atlanta, Paul Baxter for a 6th-round draft pick. Trade between Atlanta and Quebec, another trade. Phil Russell goes to Quebec for a 5th-round draft pick. Okay, so some decent talent being traded finally. Minnesota and Quebec make a trade. Ken Kuzik for Robbie Laird. Yeah, that's a very small trade. Quebec and Minnesota, Jamie Islop for a 5th-round draft pick. Jamie Islop, yeah, another alright player. Between Atlanta and St. Louis, Pekka Rotacalio for a 6th-round draft pick. Trade between Vancouver and Toronto, Don Lever for a 4th-round draft pick. Wow. Now that's a... yeah. And then finally, Don Waddell was traded to the Kings for Len Frigg. Now, with all that said and done, there's a lot of waivers. Oh, yeah, this is going to take a minute to go through all of that. Let's see. We don't want you. No. Coral. Lots of them we've seen before. Perry Miller. No, thank you. Nope. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go with any of the guys further down that list here. Alright, lots of players on waivers after all those trades. And with all that being said, we do have a game. We're playing in Washington against the Capitals. The Capitals are 26-28 and 11. We are 1-2 against Washington this season. Let's go ahead and see what happens today after all that mishmash and trading around. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Whalers. Gary Innes is going to be in net for Washington. And of course, go Whalers, go. Another victory for the Whalers. Look at us. That trade has rejuvenated the team. A 6-3 victory in Washington today. Despite being outshot 41-24 in that one, so we can say thank you to our goaltending, I guess. Gordy Roberts with another awesome performance. He was the first star with 5 assists. Charlie Simmer was the second star with 2 goals and an assist, and Mike Rogers was the third star with 2 goals and an assist. Greg Carroll opened up the scoring in the first. That was his 5th of the season from Gordy Roberts and Bob Stevenson. It was 1-0 Hartford after 1. There was a fight between Mike Gartner and Rick Hodgson. Wow, Mike Gartner getting in a fight there. Then in the second period, Charlie Simmer scored on the power play from André Lacroix and Gordy Roberts, made it 2-0. Then Washington scored, it was 2-1, and then we scored again. Mike Rogers on the power play again from André Lacroix and Gordy Roberts. 3-1 Hartford after 2, and another fight between Yvon Labre and Barry Melrose. And then in the third period, Brian Baltimore, man, I love that name, Brian Baltimore, and it's not even Brian like regular spelling, it's B-R-Y-O-N, Brian Baltimore. I'm not getting tired of saying that name. From Charlie Simmer and Rick Hodgson, it was 4-1. Then Mike Rogers from Mark Renault and Gordy Roberts, it was 5-1. Then Washington scored twice to make it 5-3, but Charlie Simmer scored his 25th on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Mike Rogers. 6-3 the final score, and another fight between Yvon Labre and Gordy Howe. Pretty good game for the Whalers here. Oh, but Mike Rogers is hurt again. Now he missed already, 2 months with an injury? What is it this time? Oh, he's day-to-day. Alright, we can deal. Barry Melrose improves at left defense. Okay. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Gordy Roberts. As we saw, he had 5 assists. That was pretty impressive. Charlie Simmer extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals and an assist, so I guess he started that with the Kings, and now he's continuing that with us. Right, we're going to go ahead and advance 1 day. Mike Rogers, 1 to 2 weeks. Maybe I should put him on injured reserve and bring somebody that's not hurt. Let's see here. Maybe you? Yeah, I think you're coming up. You actually can play even if you're Alpha Star. Alright, and now we're gonna advance the day. And then Bill Lissock has been put on waivers. And Paul Harrison. Oh, Paul Harrison. Paul Harrison is 25. He would need to go through waivers if I were to claim him. I'm not gonna do that. Strong night for Brian Trottier. He had 4 assists against the Bruins. And speaking of the Bruins, we are about to face them here at Boston Garden. Bruins are 39-19-8. They are second in the conference. We are 1-1-1 against the Bruins, which means a win, a loss, and a tie. Let's see what happens here. Now we've lost Mike Rogers, so of course it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Al Smith is going to be in net for us. Gilles Gilbert is going to be in net for the Bruins. Go Whalers, go. And we lost 3-1. Maybe a little bit of a predictable outcome here. First loss of the month. Oh wow, that was not a very offensive game. We were outshot 29-14. Right, Schmatz was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Dave Keon was the second star with a goal, and Brad Park was the third star with a goal and an assist. Bruins scored twice in the first period. It was 2-0 Bruins after 1. Then they scored again in the second period. 3-0 Boston after 2. Then in the third period, we had Dave Key on score from Gordie Howe and Jay Wells, 3-1 the final score. There was a fight between Brad McCrimmon and Jay Wells, and that was that. Not a whole lot to report on that game. Goldie Harrison claimed off waivers and put right back on waivers. Alright, so Edmonton claimed him. And they are trying to pass him right back on waivers. Why? Why does this happen? Fix it, please. Pretty please. Can you fix that? Alright, so we have 2 days off, and then we're going to be in Detroit to play the Red Wings. Oh, Blaine Stockton extends his point streak to 12 games. Look at him flourish in LA. He had a goal against the Habs. Alright, and now we're going to be in Detroit to play the Red Wings, who are 23, 35, and 8. That's good for 7th in the conference. We are 0-2 against the Wings this season. We have not been able to beat them. Alright, so that's our last road game before the 5-game homestead that starts tomorrow. So it's back-to-back for us, just not against the same team. Alright, we're going to go with John Garrett in net. Rogatien Vachon, Roger Vachon is going to be in net for the Red Wings. And of course, go Waiters go. And no, we lost 2-0 in Detroit at the Joe Louis Arena. We were outshot 38-24. Anson was the first star of the game. He had a goal. John Garrett was the second star despite the loss with 36 saves. And Gordie Howe was the third star with no points, obviously. Oh, somebody with a very loud truck went through my street. If you heard that, I apologize. Alright, so Red Wings scored in the first period 1-0, scored in the second period 2-0, no fights, very boring game all in all. Let's move on, and we have an injury. Ray Neufeld is hurt. Oh, daily treatment for Neufeld. Injury to Ray Neufeld has been evaluated as a calf laceration, likely duration 1 to 2 months. However, the doctor reports that treatment could be delayed until the season is over, and Neufeld is willing to consider this. It's the 80s, of course you're playing hurt. Why am I even bothering reading this? Why did you come and bother me with your calf laceration? Just go rub some dirt on it. Who are you? Alright, let's go ahead and advance 1 day here. Good night for Steve Shutt. He had 3 goals and an assist against the North Stars. Blaine Stockton extends his point streak to 13 games with a goal and an assist against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Tiger Williams is suspended in Toronto. He's going to miss 6 games. Suspension for Boston's O'Callaghan. He's going to miss 6 games as well. And red light stays on for Jean Rattel with the Bruins. He had 3 goals and an assist against Washington. Alright, Vancouver is in town. They are 21, 37, and 10 on the season. We are 1-1 against the Canucks. Let's see if we can start to win again now that we're back at home. Glenn Hanlon is going to be in net for the Canucks. We're going to go to Al Smith. Come on, Whalers, back home. Let's get a nice 3-1 victory. That's my prediction. We're going to win 3-1. And we lost 6-4. So I will not go buy a lottery ticket. So 6-4 loss. We outshot Vancouver 36-32. Stan Schmill was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 3 assists. Mark Renault was the second star with an assist. And Graydon was the third star with a goal and an assist. 7,280 people in attendance for the game. Canucks scored twice. And then Charlie Simmer scored on a power play from André Lacroix and Gordie Howe. And then Vancouver scored again. It was 3-1 Vancouver after 1. Bill Bennett and Kurt Fraser fought. And in the second period, we managed to tie the game. Dave Keon scored on a power play from Gordie Howe and Charlie Simmer, and then Bill Bennett from Gordy Roberts and Rick Aduono. 3-3 after 2. Then in the third period, the Canucks scored twice to make it 5-3. Fairly late in the game, Charlie Simmer scored on a power play from Mark Renault. It was 5-4, but the Canucks scored in an empty net with 14 seconds left to go in the game, and that was a 6-4 loss. A little disappointing. Blaine Stockton extends his point streak to 14 games with a goal and 2 assists against the Atlanta Flames. He's probably playing with Marcel Dion or something. Good for him. Plus, depending on what kind of crime or atrocity that he committed in Hartford, imagine the pool is a lot bigger in LA. He's gonna be like super happy over there. He's gonna be able to be a fucking dick as much as he wants. Right, excellent passing leads to productive night for Dave Hunter. He had 4 assists against the Chicago Blackhawks. Doug Wilson extends his point streak to 12 games. He had an assist in that same game. Gordie Howe might retire. Well, you have a contract for next year if you decide to come back, buddy. I'll have you at 52 years old, no problem. Alright, Colorado is in town. They are 12-47-9. It's a rough year in Colorado. We are 2-1 against the Rockies. Bill McKenzie is going to be in net for the Rockies. John Garrett in net for Hartford. Let's get a win here. A 4-0 win against a team we should be able to beat, so that's good. That's a shutout. We outshot Colorado 38-27. John Garrett, first star of the game with the shutout. André Lacroix was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Gordy Roberts was the third star with an assist. A sellout crowd here in Hartford today. The fans are starting to not be as upset, I suppose. Nobody scored in the first. We had a fight between Gordie Howe and Barry Beck, and another fight between André Lacroix and Jack Hughes. Second period, Greg Carroll opened up the scoring from Jordy Douglas and Byron Schott. Then André Lacroix from Chuck Lefley and Bob Stevenson. 2-0 Hartford after 2. And then in the third period, Gordie Howe scored his 5th of the season on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Charlie Simmer. And then Charlie Simmer from André Lacroix and Gordie Howe. 4-0 the final score. Bob Stevenson is hurt. Alright, we're gonna have to see what's up with that. Oh, another. Are you gonna make this guy play hurt thing? And we're in the 80s, so we already know the answer to that. He has a herniated disc. Yeah, that's nothing. Go and play. Don't bother me with that. Oh, Colorado might change their coach. Their coach is Tom Johnson. Nick Fotiu improves at right wing. All right, let's go ahead and advance that with our injured players that are still playing. Blaine Stockton's point streak ended at 14 games. It was held scoreless against the Buffalo Sabres. Good. I don't want to hear about how great he's doing in LA anymore. Oh, Kevin Constantine's contract has been bought out by the Montreal Canadiens. Alright, and we are hosting the Minnesota North Stars. They are 34-26-8. That's good for 4th in the conference. We are 1-2 against Minnesota. We won the very first game of the season against them, but they beat us the last 2 times. Gilles Meloche is going to be in net for Minnesota. John Garrett is going to be in net for us. Come on, Hartford. A 4-1 victory. Look at us playing ourselves out of a great draft pick. Minnesota outshot Hartford 32-26 in that one. Andre Lacroix was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. John Garrett was the second star with 31 saves and the W. And Charlie Simmer was the third star with a goal and an assist. Sellout crowd here in Hartford. Gordy Roberts opened up the scoring in the first. It was a power play goal from Charlie Simmer and Andre Lacroix. Then Minnesota tied the game. It was 1-1 after 1. Right. Then in the second period, Charlie Simmer scored on the power play. From Andre Lacroix, it was 2-1 Hartford after 2. We had a fight between Nick Fotiu and Kurt Giles. Then finally in the third period, Jay Wells scored from Jordy Douglas and Dave Keon. And then Rick Eduano scored on the power play from Andre Lacroix. 4-1 the final score here in Hartford. Nick Fotiu improves at right wing. Alright. He's playing on his off wing because, you know, that's for the one-timer opportunities for the goon, right? Doug Wilson extends his point streak to 13 games. He had a goal and an assist against the Islanders. Strong night for Willie Lindstrom with Winnipeg. He had 4 assists against the Detroit Red Wings. Good night for Ron Grashner. He had 4 assists against the Blues. Colorado finally fired Tom Johnson and they hired John Brophy as their replacement. We have a couple of days off and then Montreal is going to be in town. We all know how much I love the Habs. Mike Rogers might be back soon, so is Al Sims. Those would be 2 welcome additions to the lineup. Alright, one more day off, and then Montreal's in town. There was no stopping Steve Payne in Minnesota. He had 4 goals against Pittsburgh. And Mike Rogers on the edge of returning. Yes, please. Montreal in town with a 45-18-8 record. That's really good. They are first in the conference and we are 0-2 against them. Might not be very easy here. Without our without our number 1 center and number 1 defenseman, might be pretty hard to beat Montreal. Even with them, it would be pretty hard. Michel Larocque is going to be in net for Montreal. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Raiders. And we lost 4-3, and I forgot to say go Raiders go. That might be why. We outshot Montreal 33-27. Steve Shutt was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Gordy Roberts was the second star with 2 assists, and Pierre Larouche was the third star with 2 goals. Sellout crowd here in Hartford for this game. Mark Renault opened up the scoring in the first from Bernie Johnston and Gordy Roberts, and then Charlie Simmer scored his 30th of the season on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Gordy Howe. It was 2-0 Hartford, but then Montreal scored twice, and it was a 2-2 game. Then in the second period, Montreal scored twice, made it 4-2. And then in the third period, Charlie Simmer scored on the power play unassisted, made it 4-3. We had still plenty of time, but we were not able to tie the game, so a 4-3 loss is the final score. Alright, Gordy Howe has played in 1,750 games. Look at him. Got an assist in that game, so that was... yeah, that's a lot of games. Doug Wilson extends his point streak to 14 games. He had 3 assists against the Nordiques. Tom McVie might lose his coaching job in Winnipeg. Darryl Sittler has a memorable game. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Winnipeg Jets. Rick Vive is suspended in Vancouver. He's going to miss 2 games. Mike Rogers is ready. Al Sims is almost ready. Let's see if we can do something with all that. Mike Rogers needs 2 more days. So he's going to miss the next game, and then he's going to be able to come back against Montreal. Right. Red light stays on for Barry Beck. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the Quebec Nordiques. Al Sims is almost 100%. And Borje Salming signed a 5-year extension with Toronto. Alright, Flyers are in town now. They are 44-21-6. We are 0-3 against the Flyers. We are not doing all too hot against them. Let's go ahead and play this. Phil Meyer is going to be in net for Philadelphia. We're going to go with John Garrett. Go Waiters, go! Oh no, that didn't work. We lost 3-2. Oh yeah, we got outshot 50-23. Rough night here in Hartford for us. Brian Propp was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Gordy Roberts was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Bobby Clark was the third star with 2 assists. Sellout crowd to see the Flyers stomp on us. Even though it was a 3-2 score, 50 shots is a beating. Flyers scored twice in the first period. Then there was a fight between Barry Melrose and Paul Holmgren. That's funny. They both became coaches at one point. Then in the second period, the Flyers made it 3-0. Then Gordy Roberts scored from Chuck Leffley. It was 3-1 Flyers after 2. The third period, Charlie Simmer scored on a power play from André Lacroix and Gordy Roberts. 3-2 Philadelphia with 6:18 left to go, but that wasn't enough. We weren't able to tie the game. Lots of penalties too in the third period. We just couldn't tie this game up. Oh, Al Sims comes back, so we get Al Sims and Mike Rogers back against the Montreal Canadiens here. Charlie Simmer extends his goal streak to 5 games in that game with his goal, and Al Sims, yes please, come back buddy. Alright, so Mike Rogers. Al Sims, thank you very much. Oh, I guess I'm going to put Brian Baltimore back on waivers. I don't necessarily want to do that, but... Yeah, I'm going to send Mark Renault down. Right, and then I guess I'm going to send Johnston back down. There we go. Alright, that's big. That's 2 decent players that are back. Al Sims is decent, right? Yeah, he can play a little bit. He's the 12 in a few teams. Alright, so now we are playing one quick away game here. And that's going to be in Montreal against the Habs. We haven't won against the Habs, and they're first in the conference. I don't remember their record, but it is what it is. I just forgot to check it. I'm too excited to get Mike Rogers and Al Sims back. All right, so Al Smith is gonna be in net for us. Michel Larocque back in net for Montreal. Why not? He won the last game against us. Go Hartford, go! Oh no, that's not good. We got torched 11-1. I was hoping for a better result now that we got 2 big pieces back in the lineup. I guess they had some rust on them or something. Alright, so 11-1 trouncing in Montreal, who outshot us 47-19. Guy Lafleur was the first star of the game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Pierre Larouche was the second star with 2 goals and 3 assists. And Bob Gainey was the third star with 2 goals and an assist. 4 goals for Montreal in the first period. Then Mario Faubert and Gordy Howe fought. And then Guy Lafleur and Bill Bennett got into a scrap as well. But yeah, it was already 4-0 for the Habs after 1. They added 4 more goals in the second period. It was 8-0 after 2, and then of course our coach after 2 was probably like, "Don't give up, guys. We put the puck deep and finish your checks, and we might be able to win this game." Alright, and then Montreal made it 10-0 before we finally scored a goal. It was André Lacroix and it was unassisted. And then Montreal added one more goal. 11-1. That's our worst loss of the season. I think we're done against Montreal. Yeah, we're not playing them again, so that's good. That's not a bad thing. And I'm not only saying that because I don't like them. Alright. Guy Lafleur has a strong game, 3 goals and an assist against us. No stopping Kent Nilsson, who had 3 goals and an assist against the Bruins. Jack O'Callaghan is back from suspension from Boston. And Doug Wilson extends his point streak to 15 games with 2 assists against the Islanders. Alright, we have a day off. And then we're going to play against the Blues. We're going to be back at home for one quick game, and then we're going to finish the month on the road. Stan Mikita extends his point streak to 12 games. He had an assist against the Atlanta Flames. Doug Wilson's point streak ended at 15 games. It was scoreless in that same game. And suspension over for Vive. So Rick Vive back in the lineup in Vancouver. Alright, so we are at home to play the Blues again. So we played them first game of this stream here, and it was a tie. So maybe we can win this time. Blues are 34, 26, and 13. We are 0-2-1 against them. So let's get a little Hartford victory here. Mike Liut is going to be in net for the Blues. John Garrett is going to be in net for us. Go Hartford, go. I didn't say that the last couple games, and it didn't work. Another tie against the Blues. So 2 lackluster, lukewarm games against the St. Louis Blues. 2 ties. A 3-3 tie here at home. We outshot St. Louis 37-24. Al Sims was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. No, that's not Tiger Williams. That's another T. Williams. Was the second star with an assist. Tom Williams. And then Gordie Howe was the third star with a goal and an assist. Set out crowd in Hartford. St. Louis opened up the scoring in the first. It was 1-0 St. Louis after 1. There was a fight between Gordie Howe and Brian Sutter, and then Bill Bennett and Brian Sutter. Wow, Brian Sutter was busy in that period. Right, so 1-0 St. Louis after 1. Then in the second period, Al Sims scored from Gordie Howe and Dave Keon tied it at 1. Then St. Louis scored, made it 2-1 St. Louis. Hey FJ, what's up, buddy? And then in the second after that. Hey, he's 51. Don't age him, Joe. Now that don't age him over what he is. Yeah, I did make a fairly big trade. You missed it. It was at the start of the stream. Gordie Howe scored short-handed from Chuck Lefley and Al Sims. It was tied at 2, and then Charlie Simmer scored from Mike Rogers and Barry Melrose. Made it 3-2 Hartford after 2. So yeah, Charlie Simmer, it was my big piece. So you haven't been there for the last couple streams. I had Blaine Stockton that got into like an off-ice incident, and then like everybody hated him. So I had to kind of trade him. So I traded him to the Kings with some other pieces for mainly Charlie Simmer and Jay Wells. Mike Krushelinski is not ready for prime time yet, FJ. Don't worry. Don't you worry. Alright, so 3-2 Hartford after 2. And then in the third period, St. Louis scored to tie it at 3, and that was the final score. The computer is going to be handling my draft. It's part of my challenge this year. I also really liked Zeno Cicerelli when I was a kid, so I would love to have him on the team. So if he's not drafted by my team, I might look to trade for him. I did like Dino Ciccarelli a lot, mostly because I thought it was a funny sounding name for a French Canadian. All right, Tiger Williams is back from suspension in Toronto. All right, and now we have a day off, and we are going to be playing in Winnipeg against the Jets. Guy Chouinard has a great game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Edmonton Oilers. Stan Mikita's point streak ended at 12 games. He was held scoreless against the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, Denis Potvin extended with the Islanders, a 7-year extension. Dang, I was hoping that maybe I could swap him on the free agent market, as if. And Casolato falls from roof, suffers injury. So Tony Casolato of the Washington Capitals was trying to fix his roof, and he fell and he hurt himself. Alright, Jets are 19, 48, and 7, so we are better than them. We also have won every single game against them. We are 3-0 against Winnipeg this season. Let's go ahead and see if we can beat them. Make it a perfect record against them. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Waiters. Marcus Matson is going to be in net for Winnipeg. Go Hartford, go. Oh, a 7-6 win here. So, pretty offensive game on both sides. We were outshot 42-35. Mike Rogers was the first star of the game. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals. Maurice Lukowicz was the second star with a goal and 2 assists. And Gordie Howe was the third star with 4 assists at 51 years old. Alright, so Winnipeg scored the first goal of the game, then we scored twice. Jordy Douglas from Jay Wells and André Lacroix, then Mike Rogers from Charlie Simmer and Gordie Howe, 2-1 Hartford after 1. Then in the second period, Al Sims scored his 5th of the season from Chuck Lefley and Gordy Roberts. Then Mike Rogers from Gordie Howe and Charlie Simmer. 4-1 Hartford at that point. Winnipeg scored, and Mike Rogers completed his hat-trick with his 20th of the season from Gordie Howe and Rick Hodgson. It was 5-2. Winnipeg scored again. It was 5-3 Hartford after 2. Then in the third period, André Lacroix scored from Jordy Douglas and Barry Melrose, made it 6-3. Then Winnipeg scored twice, made it 6-5. Charlie Simmer scored from Gordie Howe and Al Sims, made it 7-5. And then with 55 seconds left in the game, Winnipeg scored to make it 7-6, but they just didn't have that tying goal in them. We managed to win 7-6. There's a couple news there. I probably have a few injuries. Al Sims is injured 2 or 3 games after coming back. Oh, he's day to day. That's fine. Good game for Gordie Howe. He had 4 assists, as we saw, so the man might be 51 years old, but he is unstoppable. Even the force of nature cannot stop him. And memorable night for Mike Rogers, as we say, he had a hat-trick. Yes, earlier during the stream he said that he is contemplating retirement. Look, I did my job. I offered him a contract extension, right? I was like, let's see how old we can make Gordie Howe play, but like I cannot force the guy to play, so so we'll see. But yeah, I did offer him a contract extension, and then, you know, a couple weeks ago he said, yeah, I think I'm gonna retire. I lost the tennis ball at the bottom of my walker. I can't find it anymore. Yeah, I know. Imagine if those stats would count. Kind of like Jagger. Imagine if his stats, like, when he went to play in Russia and everything. Like, imagine if he didn't lose those years. It would be interesting to see where he would be at. Alright, let's advance here. We're going to be playing in Vancouver. Jack Mikilarge, I think that's how it said, is on waivers. Memorable night for Bernie Federico. He had 4 assists against the Bruins. Big game for Blaine Stockton that I traded to LA. He had 3 goals and an assist against Pittsburgh. And Rick McLeish has racked up 600 points for the Flyers. 3 assists. Alright, we are now playing in Vancouver against the Canucks. Canucks are 24, 40, and 11. We are 1-2 against the Canucks. Let's try to beat them again. Alright, so of course, Al Sims is not playing. He's day-to-day again. So Brian Baltimore is back in the lineup. My favorite player just because of his name, Brian Baltimore. John Garrett is going to be in net for the Waiters. Glenn Hanlon is going to be in net for the Vancouver Canucks. Go Waiters, go! A 6-3 win, so we are working ourselves out of a good draft pick. Kind of sucks in a way, but you know what? Sometimes winning is fun as well. Alright, 6-3 victory. We outshot Vancouver 31-25 in that one. Mike Rogers had a fantastic game. He had 5 assists. He's the first star. Charlie Simmer was the second star with 2 goals and an assist. And Barry Melrose was the third star with a goal. Lots of scoring in the first period. Gordy Roberts opened up the scoring with a power play goal from Mike Rogers. Then the Canucks tied the game. Then we scored 4 goals. Barry Melrose scored his 5th from Charlie Simmer and Mike Rogers. Then Gordy Roberts scored his 15th on the power play from Mike Rogers. Charlie Simmer scored his 35th on the power play from Gordy Roberts and Mike Rogers. And then André Lacroix scored his 25th from Nick Fotiu and Gordie Howe. 5-1 Hartford after 1. In the second period, the Canucks scored twice. It was 5-3 Hartford after 2. Then we added a goal in the third period. Charlie Simmer from Mike Rogers and Brian Baltimore. 6-3 the final score. There was a fight between Rick Vive and Gordie Howe. Gordie Howe, yeah, man, the man is 51 years old. He's still fighting. Nick Fotiu improves at right wing. And great night for Mike Rogers as we saw 5 assists. That's pretty impressive. One day off. No day off. We are playing in LA the very next day. Mike Bossy extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal and 2 assists against the Montreal Canadiens. And Al Sims is ready to resume practice. That'd be nice. We're barely back. Yeah. Being beat up by a 51-year-old, yeah, that would be a little... Especially with how proud hockey players are, right? Alright, so in LA to play the Kings, they are 33, 34, and 9. We are going to play our old friend Blaine Stockton. I don't know if he's done anything indecent in LA yet. Well, you would think that, but Gordie Howe wasn't that big, or at least unless they have like the wrong measurements for him in the game. Like 6 foot 205 pounds. For that time, I guess it was big, right? I mean, the goaltenders were like 4'11" or something, but yeah. Alright, playing the Kings. We are 1-2 against LA this season. Kings are 6th in the conference. Al Smith is going to be in net for us. Mario Lessard is going to be in net for LA. Well, from his prime, he's 51 right now. Dude probably has a walker. No, I'm saying that I'm not that far from 51 myself. Well, I might have a walker, but who knows. Alright, go Waiters, go. No, we lost 4-3. All right, so we couldn't beat the Kings. We were outshot 48-24 in that one. Man Ray was the first of the game. He had a goal. Brian Baltimore. I never tire of saying his name. I don't know why. Brian Baltimore was the second star with an assist, and Marcel Dion was the third star with 2 goals. Alright, so LA scored 3 unanswered goals in the first period. They were already up 3-0 after 1. Then in the second period, Dave Keon scored on the power play from Rick Aduono, and then Charlie Simmer from Gordie Howe and Brian Baltimore. 3-2 Kings after 2. There was a fight between André Saint-Laurent and Rick Hodgson, and then in the third period, Nick Fotiu scored his 5th from Gary Doak, and Bill Bennett tied the game. Oh, but really late in the game, with 42 seconds left to go, Paul Anderson scored and gave the Kings the victory, and we had a fight between Mark Hardy and Nick Fotiu in the third period as well. Oh, André Lacroix is hurt. That's not good. He's been pretty steady for me. Like, maybe not a point per game steady, but he's been pretty steady for me all season long. He's out for 1 to 2 weeks. Memorable night for Anders Edberg. He had 4 goals and an assist against the St. Louis Blues. Oh yeah, you've posted something on Discord for me? Oh yeah, I've seen that picture of him before. Yeah, he was jacked, but I don't think he's 51 years old on that picture. Right, Rick McLeish has a strong game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Atlanta Flames. That March scouting update from Bill Deneen. Don't care. Al Sims ahead of schedule. That'd be great. Alright, and that was the last game in March. We're gonna advance 1 more day here to be on the 1st of April. Top selling Hartford Whalers jerseys for March. Charlie Simmer is 1st, Chuck Lefley is 2nd, Gary Doak is 3rd, Brian Baltimore is 4th, and I probably bought all of them. And Barry Melrose is 5th. So again, like, those are all players that did not start the season on the Whalers. So I'm wondering if there's something with the algorithm for that that's kind of messed up. But I don't know. That's a weird. Al Sims, not far from returning. That'd be great. Development report. Okay, let's take a look here. Rick Aduono, more professional and more determination for Mike Rogers. Byron Schott has more bravery. Ray Allison, okay. Okay, Don Gillen I got because he was young, right? So he got passing in position, so that's good. So he got like points and good things. And then Sam Saint-Laurent as well, really young goaltender. Oh, he's now 12-12. I got him. He was 11-12. Now he's 12-12. He's 21. Who knows? He might end up being better than the guy I traded from. So, you know, that's why you make those trades sometimes. It's never a guarantee, though. Oh, John Garrett is getting worse, and Al Smith as well. So, yeah, that's not good. Top selling NHL jerseys for March. Steve Shutt was 1st in the NHL. Alright, so the players of the month were Lanny McDonald of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Glenn Resch of the New York Islanders. Alright, so that's going to be our stopping point. Now, next time out, we're going to do the 4 games in April plus the playoffs. We're going to see who wins the Stanley Cup. A little insider news. More than likely, it won't be Hartford. Just letting you know here, I don't think Hartford will win the cup. Alright, so let's take a look at the conferences. So we are barely in a playoff position right now. The Nordiques could leapfrog us, and then we wouldn't be in the playoffs. So that's what the portrait looks like as far as playoffs go here in my save. And we are 8th in the conference, of course, as we saw. André Lacroix, I'm going to need to take care of, right? He's day-to-day. I think he's just going to stay there. Alright, so let's take a look at our stats here. Alright, so our best player that got most of his points with LA, not with us, Charlie Simmer, 88 points in 74 games. That's pretty good. That's why I went and got him. He's pretty good. He should be good for us for quite a few years. Then, you know, we go down to 61 points in 74 games for André Lacroix. Gordy Roberts, pretty decent for a defenseman, 55 points in 75 games. The big deception in this season has been Mark Howe. He's been hurt when he was in the lineup. He wasn't very productive. Makes me a little worried for the future. Hopefully he's going to be better in the future seasons here. And then, you know, it trickles down from there. We don't score many goals. Then in the entire league, the best goal scorer is Mike Bussey with 61 goals. 82 assists for Gilbert Perrault and 129 points for Gilbert Perrault. So yeah, Buffalo, Montreal Islanders, that's pretty much the top teams right now in terms of scoring. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and save my game. I'm also going to say thank you for tuning in, even though we got some traction near the end of the stream here, so I do want to thank you for tuning in. Now, if you're catching this on YouTube, like the video, you know what to do. But that's gonna be it for today, so as usual, thank you folks, and until next time, ARG's tuning out now. See ya.